Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. It's 3 p.m. UTC plus 3. So to respect the people who have already joined, I think we will start as we wait for others to join. We will continue with the session that we had on PivotTable. So if you have not watched session 1, you need to go and watch session 1, and we are continuing with the same workbook. So our tutor today is Ellen. Ellen, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, I think we can start as we wait for other people to join, just to respect the people who have already joined.
Okay,
Yeah.
no worries.
Yeah.
Okay, so hi everyone. Good evening. So my name is Ellen. So I'll share screen. Okay, so I hope you can see my screen right now. Okay, so yeah, there you go. So like what Crispo has mentioned, basically I've taught this, I think about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago about PivotTable, the phase 1, part 1, whereby we learned what is PivotTable. It's about S, A, and P. We also learn about this as I can proceed. So we learn about the grouping, we learn about charts. And yes, if I proceed to the next part, this is what we learn. Okay, but what I'm going to proceed next is I'm going to continue that what I'm going to cover. So basically for the next part is we do have level 6. So I'm going to start with level 6 onwards. So what I'll do is I'll try to copy all the notes and I'm going to paste it in my level 6 so that you all can see together. But before I proceed, I'll really need your help. So can you type number 1 in the chat box, my dear friends, if you can hear me, and please type number 2 if you can see the screen. Okay, so just type number 1 if you can hear me and type number 2 if you can see the screen. So in the chat box, so that this class can be an interactive part. So thank you, my dear friends, for typing 1 and 2. Okay, so I'll just try to proceed. So basically, if you look carefully, we do have a database. This is regarding the country name, continent, and also the respective years. Okay, we do have the country name, continent, and the respective years. So basically, we do have a population data for each countries and the respective years from 2018 to 2021. So if just say given a chance, I want to know the top 5 population for 2021. Okay, so in 2021, I want to know the top 5 population. So how PivotTable can actually help me is, okay, like I told you, first step is place your active cell on the table. So how to place the active cell? What is active cell? As you can see over here, this green color box over here, this is an active cell. If I put it over here, this green color box over here is an active cell. So I put it over here. Okay, so the active cell on the table, I put it over here. And then I press Control A. So in your keyboard, you can just press Control A. So Control A will try to highlight the entire table. Control A will try to highlight the entire table. And then you can use your mouse and click Insert. Where is Insert? Insert is over here. So this is the Insert button. And then after that, you click Pivot Table. Where is Pivot Table? Pivot Table is on your left. So you just click it over here. You don't have to click it over here. You can just click on this box over here, on this icon over here. So once you click Pivot Table, you will notice that a box will appear. Okay, you will notice that a box will appear. And then once you press OK, you will navigate to new sheet. Meaning to say, the moment you press OK, you will go to a new worksheet. So when you press OK, you will go to a new worksheet. And on your right, you will have the Pivot Table field. Okay, on your right, you have Pivot Table field. And this Pivot Table field, it depends on you how you want to customize it. You can just click on the tools. You just want to put the field section side by side also can, so that it appears like this. So it depends on you how you want to customize your Pivot Table field. But like I told you, what I want is I want to know the top 5 population for 2021. So I will just stick on 2021. So 2021, this is the total population, but I also want the country. So like you see, we do have these details whereby we have the population for each country. But of course, by looking at these numbers, it is hard for your manager to understand. So if you remember 3 weeks ago, what I thought is how we can actually format this. We can just press here right click, and then after that, we can go to number format. Okay, what's the difference between format cells and number format? just a recap from what I taught 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. In previous session, I told you the difference between format cells and number format. Format cells means it will format the specific cell. Meaning to say, if just say I highlight all this and right click and I click format cell. Format cell means it will format the particular cell. Okay, again I repeat, if format cell means it will format the particular cell. So once I click format cell, you will notice that a box will appear. So if just say I were to go to number, I choose number, I will use the 1000 separator, and then just say I remove the decimal places. Okay, it will be in this format. And then if just say I press OK, so you'll notice that only these particular cells, when I press OK, you will notice that only these particular cells will be formatted properly, will have the 1000 separator. Meanwhile, the others are not formatted properly. So when I press right click, format cells means will format the particular cells. Again, I repeat, format cell means it will format the particular cells on what you've highlighted and where you place your active cell. If just say you want to format entire column, entire details, what you do is you press right click, you go to number format. Number format is for everything. Okay, number format is for everything. So you don't have to highlight everything. You can just place on any cursor, click number format, and then you can just go to number, use 1000 separator and put 0 because this is a population data. We don't have decimal places for population, and then we press OK. So automatically when we press OK, you will notice that the population will have in a proper format. It will be formatted properly. But if you remember, what I told you all is I said that I want a top 5 data. Okay, if you remember just now, my mention here is top 5 population in 2021. This is what I mentioned, meaning to say I want to know the top 5 population for the year 2021. So I'll go back to my sheet. So the thing is, first thing is I want to arrange first. So now if just say I highlight all this data and then I right click and then I go to sort. My dear friends, when I highlight the data, I press right click and then when I press sort, do you think can I select the largest to smallest? If you notice carefully, I am not able to select the sort largest to smallest. Why? Because I have already highlighted the data. When you highlighted the data, you are not able to sort in the pivot table. So that is why in pivot table, make sure you don't highlight the data. You can just select any of the numbers. Okay, so like what I repeat again, if just say you want to arrange the data in pivot table, make sure you don't highlight. You select any numbers, then you press right click. Once you press right click, you will notice that the menu command will appear. You go to sort. Now you are able to actually sort the data. So when I press sort largest to smallest, eventually the data will be sorted from largest to smallest. But again, I repeat, what I want is I don't want largest to smallest. I want the top 5 population for 2021. So I go to this arrow box or this auto filter. I click it over here and then I go to value filter. Why I go to value filter? Because I want to filter the top 5 data. So I will go to the top 10 over here. So I'll click on this top 10. So I don't want top 10. What I want is I want the top 5 data. So I'll just change this 5 over 10 to 5 and then I press OK. So once I press OK, so automatically this is the top 5 population for 2021. And the thing is what I want to teach you over here is basically I want to teach you about slicer, what I got covered in the previous session. So if just say I click on pivot table analyze, I can click over here insert slicer. Okay, I can click it over here, or you can actually go here as in this pivot table field. You can just press here right click and then you can also click here add a slicer. So my friends, can you see this add a slicer over here? If you can see, can you type number 3 in the chat box? So it's either you can go to pivot table analyze and click on the insert slicer icon, or you can just right click on the continent. So once you right click on the continent, automatically you can actually add a slicer over here. Okay. So it's up to you. Either you want to go here also can, or you can just right click here also can. So I want to add a slicer for continent. So I click it over here. So now we do have a slicer for continent. So just say when I tick select for the African continent, so you will notice that the largest population is from Nigeria, Ethiopia, Egypt, Congo, and Tanzania. If just say I click on Asia, so in Asia we have China. Of course, this is as of 2021. So in 2021, it is dominated by China, India, Indonesia. And if just say I click on Europe, so we have Russia. When I click on South America, we have Brazil. And what I want to teach you on this particular level is basically we can actually customize our slicer. That means we can actually go to a slicer ribbon over here. And then after that, here, if you notice, we only have one column. If you notice over here, we only have one column. So instead of one, if just say you put two, you will notice that we do have two columns over here. Okay, one column and another column. But if just say you want to increase the size, you want to put as 6 also can. So we do have 6 column over here. It's just that you have to adjust the size accordingly. Okay, so this is the slicer. So basically, like I mentioned in the previous class, you can use PivotTable to do SAP. So what is S? S for summary, and then A for analysis, and then P for presentation. Okay, so after this, in the next few parts, we'll learn how we can actually analyze the data using PivotTable. So basically, PivotTable can do this 3 interesting feature whereby we can create a summary. So if just you want to know top 5 data, or you want to do a presentation, or you want to do analysis also can. Okay, so this is what we can understand using a PivotTable. And not only that, if just say you want to do some analysis. So what I'll do is just say I'll just put my 2021 over here. So I'll just select this and put it over here. And then I right click. And then I go to show value as, and I will go to percentage of grand total. Okay, let me repeat again because I'm afraid I'm going too fast. So what you do is, you see here, I put the 2021 into the values again so that you have 2 columns for 2021. Then the next step, what I do is I press right click. When I press right click, you will notice that the menu command will appear. And then the next part is, I will go to show value as, and then I will go to percentage of grand total. So once I click percentage of grand total, so basically what story we can tell, because PivotTable is not only for SAP, it is also for storytelling. Storytelling means if just say I select African continent, we can say that in terms of population, Nigeria has dominated by 35%. If just say I were to click on Asian, so basically the overall population in Asia is dominated by China and India by 80%. Okay, by 80% or 81%. So basically we can use PivotTable to create some storylines, especially if you just see you're preparing a PowerPoint slides in your work, or you're preparing a dashboard in your work. So you can just make a presentation to your boss telling what is the figures, how it's being dominated, and so on. Okay, so this is what analysis is. So to enhance our understanding on analysis, so let us go to the next part, which is level 7. In level 7, as I proceed to level 7, you will notice that we do have a table regarding the date, and then the Apple product categories, sales method, the geographical location such as the continent, countries, cities, and then we do also have Apple product models, and also we do have the sales. So basically in this given database, I want to make an analysis. I want to know which location, which country is dominating the Apple products. Okay, so I want to create a story and I want to know which product is dominating. So basically as a data analyst, I want to analyze so that I can give a storytelling to my superiors, to my management. And based on that, my management can enhance their decision making. So what I'll do is I'll just try to go to the previous tab and I'll copy all this and I'll just paste it over here. Okay, so these are the steps. And then what is our intention is basically I want to determine which country dominate the Apple products market. Okay, I just want to know which country that dominates and how I can use pivot table to give a better storytelling. Okay, so this is the steps and so on. But if just say you want to use keyboard shortcut, you can just press alternate and V and T, alternate and VT. But this one is depending on which version, because previous version, if you're using Microsoft 2013, Microsoft 2016, it's different. Okay, but nevertheless, let us do one by one together. So first step is I put my active cell. So what is my active cell? Is the green color box over here. This green color box is the active cell. I put it on the data. Once I put the active cell on the data, I press Control A. So Control A means it will highlight the entire table. Even though you have 1,000 rows or 20,000 rows, 30,000 rows, when you put your active cell on the data and when you press Control A, it will highlight the entire table. So Control A will highlight the entire table. And then what you do is you can use your mouse. You can click your insert and pivot table, or you can press alternate and VT. Alternate and VT. This one you don't have to press together. You have to press one by one. So you press alternate, leave your hand so that all the keyboard shortcuts over here will be popping out. So I say alternate first, and then after that you press N. So where is N? So if you notice, the insert shows N over here. So once you press alternate, you press N. And then when you press N, it will go to the insert. When you press N, it will go to the insert. And then after that, you press V. So V means it will indicate pivot table. And then T means from table range. Okay, V for pivot table, T from table range. So once you click T, automatically you will notice that a box will appear. So once you click T, a box will appear. And then after that, you just press OK. So you can just press enter, and then there you go. So like what I told you is, I want to know basically which country dominates the Apple product. So I will just tick on countries. So when you tick countries, automatically it will go to the rows because this is a text. And if you notice, it is arranged in the alphabetical order. Like we have Australia, India, Malaysia, USA. All this data is arranged in the alphabetical order. And then what I'll do is, I will just tick on the Apple product categories. So here we have each country, they have their own categories. And I will tick on the sales USD. So in this given database, it is quite difficult for me to actually understand which country dominates. So what I'll do is, I will go to design. Okay. And then after that, I'll go to report layout. So under the design ribbon, we do have report layout. Under the report layout, we click on the report layout over here. And then I will just show in tabular form. Okay, later I'll explain what is compact form, outline form, and tabular form. So I'll just show in tabular form. So once I show in tabular form, so now this is how the report shows this. And then after that, what I'll do is, I will just try to put the sales USD again, so that we have two sales USD. And then after that, I'll just select here and then right click, sort largest to smallest. So when I sort largest to smallest, we can understand that the Apple products is dominated by the Indian market. But if just say you want to know the percentage, so what I'll do is I press here right click. So once I press right click, you will notice that the menu command will appear. So you can just right click on anywhere on the column D, and then after that you go to show value as, and then after that you go to percentage of parent row total. Percentage of parent row total. Why parent row? Why not parent column? Because if you look carefully, our countries is located in the row section. So I put here percentage of parent row. Why parent row? I'll show you later. So when I click percentage of parent row, automatically we will notice that it will show you the total percentage for each subsection. Like for example, here we have in Indian market, we have Apple Watch, we have iPhone, we have MacBook, we have other accessories. So here we do have the details. Okay, for the Indian market, it is dominated by iPhone. So what you can do is you can just press here right click and then you can go to sort largest to smallest. So based using pivot table, we can do some analysis. What is the analysis? Like for example, in the overall market, Apple product is dominated by India. By how many percent? 48.82%. And if we look specifically in the Indian market, iPhone is dominating the Indian market by 51%. So when I present a data to my top management, I can tell him or her a story. A story means who dominates the market. So using pivot table, we can understand that India dominate. Okay, but this one is a fictional data. It's not a real life data. This is a fictional data. But back to topic. So based on this pivot table, what we can understand is India dominate the Apple product market by 48.82%. Okay, it represents the larger majority. And then in India market, it is dominated by both iPhone and MacBook, representing, okay, both iPhone and MacBook represents about 97, or you can put here 50 plus 47 is about 97, 98%. So you can say 98% of the Indian market. So basically what we can understand is we can use pivot table to do some analysis to actually understand who dominates the market, who represents the highest portion, and so on. There are actually many things that we can do in pivot table actually. Okay, so my friends, do you understand? If you understand, can you type number 4 in the chat box? Okay, so basically as a data analyst, of course, sometimes we do have a lot of data. Sometimes the data is not in the proper format and so on. But the most important thing is how we can analyze the data, how we can give a storytelling to our stakeholders. Okay, because storytelling can be in the form of dashboard in Excel. It can be in the form of Power BI. It can be in the form of PowerPoint slides, okay, depending on which companies you work and so on. But the thing is, we can use the topic for today is pivot table. So how we can use pivot table to do the analysis? So basically, you can give a storytelling from this given database. And then another thing that I want to teach you is we can use pivot table actually to create many different formats. So what I'll do is I'll try to copy this and I'll just paste it over here. Okay, and then what I'll do is I'll try to remove the other column, because here I've already placed it over here. I've copied and then I've pasted it over here. And then what I'll do is I'll try to remove this. Okay, I'll try to remove this field so that you only have this data. So what I want to teach you in this particular topic is in pivot table, basically there are 3 types of form. In pivot table, there are 3 types of form. Okay, what are the 3 types of form? First is a compact form. Okay, first thing is compact form. In pivot table, there are 3 types of form. First thing is compact form. Second thing is outline form. And third thing is tabular form. Okay, tabular form. Compact form means all the row details will be concentrated in one column. That means all the information, all the row details will be concentrated in one column. Outline format means it will be in multiple column, multi-column, and also multi-row. Tabular form means it will be in multi-column. Okay, I'll just show you what is multi-column so that you can understand. So I put my cursor over here. And then what I'll do is I go to design. So once I go to design, I go to report layout. So once I click report layout, so the first thing is compact form. So when I click in show in compact form means what happens is, if you notice carefully, all this information over here, it is located in one column. All the information over here, it is located in one column. Like for example, the countries, the products, all this is located in one column only. Okay, that is compact form. So what is outline form? So if just say I just go to report layout, I show in outline form. So when I show in outline form, you will notice that if you notice here, the country will have one separate column and will have a separate row. The country will have a separate column and a separate row. And the details of the Apple product categories will be located in a different column and in a different row. Okay, see here. Here we do have the country. Here we do have the details. Here we have the country and here we have the details. So basically in a outline form, we do have more than one column. In outline form, we do have more than one column. It is actually similar to tabular form, but the difference in tabular form is when I click show in tabular format. So when I click show in tabular format, what happens is it will share the same row, meaning to say in outline form, we do have different column, different row, but in a tabular form, we share the same first row, meaning to say, you see here, here we have India and the first row is we do have the particular product. Here we have the country and then we do have the particular product. Whereas in a outline form, just say I click on show in outline form, you will notice that it will be in a outline format. That means you'll have in a separate column and a separate row. So basically, this is the format. So why I'm teaching you this? Because most likely, you see, who will normally use pivot table? Normally, employees who works in corporates, such as the admins, accountants, finance, human resource, engineers, okay? These are the employees or type of occupation that will normally use Excel, depending sometimes on logistic detail, something on accounting information, head counts, and whatnot. So normally in these kind of details, okay, so they have to do in, sometimes they use pivot table to do analysis and so on. So now these are the types of professions that use data in Excel. So right now, if just say I go here, okay, why I'm teaching you this particular topic called this type of format like compact form, outline form, and tabular form. Because sometimes in a project, we work in a team. Okay, we work in a team. So there's a possibility that just say I'm working, okay, and I'm handling region from Africa. Because just say I work in a bank and I deal with something to do with accounting data with the dealing with details for the African continent. But it just say my colleague, okay, I put my colleague here, Ali. So my colleague Ali, if just say he's dealing with the Europe data, he's deal with Europe, and myself, I deal with the African data. Okay, so if you notice carefully, if just say Ali is on annual leave, because when you work in company, there is a possibility that your colleague will be on annual leave or sometimes will be on study leave, travel leave, and so many reasons, right? So there is a possibility when you work in a team, you are given the responsibility to fulfill your colleague's work. Because if just say your colleague is on your annual leave, so that is a possible that you might perform his or her work. So in this case, sometimes you are not sure how your colleague prepare his report. And in some cases, it is not advisable for us to actually send WhatsApp messages to our colleague when he is on annual leave, right? So in this context, if just say you're not familiar, because sometimes in our colleague report, they prepare pivot table in a different format. Some of them, what they'll do is, I'll just press here right click. So when I put my cursor on the active cell on the Australian country, and then I press right click, and then what I'll do is I go to pivot table option. Once I click on pivot table option, then you will notice a box will appear, and then just say I select the merge and center cells. When I tick this and then I press OK, you will notice, okay, so maybe let me just do in the tabular format so that you all can see clearly. Okay, so I'll just say I put here tabular. So if you notice carefully, so this is already merged and then it has been merged and centered. Okay, so sometimes our manager, they prefer in this format. Sometimes you will notice that there is no subtotal. If you refer to your colleague's report, you will notice there is no subtotal. So how to remove the subtotal? You go to design, you go to the subtotal, and you do not show subtotal. So sometimes they will prepare in this format. Okay, but if just say you want to know how to actually to remove the merge, well, you can just press right click. you can go to pivot table options. And then after that, once you click on pivot table option, you can just unselect, or you can actually untick, unselect or untick the merge and center, and then you press OK. So now this is how the report is. It'll go to back to normal. So normally there's a possibility that you are required to work as a team, and there's a possibility that you are not familiar with how your colleague prepared the report, because pivot table, it can be in a different format, different coloring, different layout. And sometimes some employees, what they'll do is they will go to report layout and they will repeat all items. So now it has repeated all the items. So it depends on how your colleague has performed, and based on that you can know. Okay, so just remember there are 3 types of form: compact form, outline form, tabular form. If they say I click compact form, you will notice that all the row details. What is row details? If you see here under the row section, we have countries, we have Apple product categories. So all the details here will be concentrated in one column. However, if they say outline format, I just go here, I click in outline format. So we see here outline format is multi-column, multi-row. What does that mean? You see here one column, and then here we have another column. And then the first details, Apple Watch, is in another row. Okay, but if they say tabular form means I go to design, I click here report layout, and I show in tabular form means it will be in this format. Okay, so we don't have a separate row for the Apple product categories. All right, so my friends, do you understand? If you understand, maybe can you type number 5 in the chat box, or you can show some emojis if you really understand. Okay, so what we covered just now is we use pivot table to give a summary, to give an analysis, and actually to give a storytelling, because pivot table is very useful to actually give a storytelling, to do some analysis, and so on. So now I'm going to go to the next level, which is level number 8, to actually analyze the performance of product for each respective months. Okay, so how I will use pivot table to actually understand the performance of each product, for the respective months. Okay, so I'll just go back here. I'll just copy all this and then I'll paste it over here. Okay, I'll just paste it over here. So now this is the details. So the steps of how to create pivot table. So what is my intention is, basically my intention is I want to know the performance of product for each months. Okay, performance of product for each month. So I'm going to do some analysis. Basically, I want to understand the performance of each product for the respective months. So how I'm going to do that? Okay, so let me just show you how we want to use pivot table to determine the performance of each product for the respective months. But before I proceed, I need to show you what is our database. So when I scroll to the left, here first thing is we do have retailer. So retailer means we have Amazon, and then retail ID. Then we do have the invoice date. We have the region. Region means like the where's the location, either south, northwest. And then we have the state. We have the city. And then after that, we do have the products, the price per unit, unit sold, total sales, operating profit, and operating margin. So based on this given data, I want to do the analysis. So what I'll do is, first step is I must put my active cell. As you can see over here, place the active cell on the data. The first step is you must place the active cell on the data. So I put my active cell, the green color box, on the data. That is the first step. Okay, the first step is place the active cell on the data. Second step is you press Control A. Okay, if you look at note number 2, note number 2 says is Control A. Control A means it will highlight the entire table. And then you can use your mouse. You click Insert, you click Pivot Table. So you click Pivot Table, and then a box will appear. And then after that you press OK, it will go to a new worksheet. So now what I want to know is, I want to know the performance of each product for the respective months. So I will just tick the invoice date. Invoice date, when I tick the invoice date, it will show me January to December. Again, I repeat, when I tick the invoice date, it will show me the months from January to December. And then what I'll do is I will tick on total sales. So the total sales will show you the performance of each month. Okay. So, but now if you look here carefully, like I mentioned, these numbers is not presentable to your manager. So what you can do is you can just press right click and then you can go to show value as, and then you can just go to, sorry, not show value as, you can go to number format. And then after that, you can just go on accounting. So if you don't want the symbol, you can just remove the symbol and remove the decimal places. And then you press OK. So why we go to number format? Because we want to format the data properly. So that now the data is presentable and formatted accordingly so that we can present to our manager. Okay, but what I mentioned earlier is I want to know the performance of each product. Okay, so you can use pivot table to do some analysis. But again, I repeat, what I want to do is I want to know the performance of each product for the respective months. Okay, so now I have the total sales for the respective months. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll put the total sales again at the values. So right now, when I put the total sales again at the values, so right now, if you look here carefully, we do have two different columns. One column for the total sales, another column also we have. Why we have another column? So basically, I want to know the performance. So I press here, right click, I go to show value as. So once I click show value as, we have so many options. So what I will do is I will click on percentage different from. If you look here carefully, I will click on percentage different from. So once I will click on percentage different from, you will notice that a box will appear. Meaning to say, when we click percentage different from, a box will appear. I have actually taught this in the last session, but I'm repeating again. So percentage different from is will determine the percentage based on what data. So the item based item is I want to choose on previous. So basically it will determine the percentage difference from the previous data. So if just say you want to use percentage from January also can. Percentage from percentage from, so I'll just choose percentage from previous, and then after that I press OK. So once I press OK, so automatically it will determine the percentage based from the previous data. Like for example, now you see here January we have about 10.6 million. In February we have about 8.1 million. So what happened is in February there is a decrease. In February there is a reduction. Reduction by how much? By 24%. How I get 24%? Because it is the percentage different from the previous data. Like for example, over here, if you notice, in March, we have 9.5 million. In April, we have about 1.9 million. So the data, what happened is the total sales have reduced, have decreased in the month of April. By how many percent? By 80%, or specifically is 79.18%. So basically we can use pivot table not only to create a summary, but also to create an analysis. Analysis means to determine the percentage from previous data, previous header. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to do some coloring, because what I'll do is I highlight until the bottom. Once I highlight the details, so basically I want to share to my manager, because when we work in a company, sometimes we send the email to our senior, sometimes we need to do presentation. So I want to give a better presentation. So I will go to conditional formatting. I will go to highlight cell rules. Why I go to conditional formatting? Because conditional formatting is a feature whereby it will format a cell, it will color the cell according to a condition. So what I want to do is, if just say the numbers over here, it has increased greater than 0. Greater than 0, I want to put green color. Less than 0, I want to put red color. So I'll put here greater than. So if just say greater than 0, I will put as green color. Why greater than 0 green color? Because I want to show that it has increased. So greater than 0 is green color, because I want to show that the details have increased, the sales have increased. So I press OK. And then after that, I go to conditional formatting. I go to highlight cell rules. I want to put less than. So less than means I put here less than 0, and I want to put red color. Why red color? Because I want to show that the performance have dropped, the total sales has reduced, and then I press enter. So now if you notice, this is basically the total sales. This is basically the trending. So what I'll put over here is, so here I'll just put here total sales, and here I'll put here trending, the performance over the months. So I've just changed the name. And then what I will do next is, basically, I don't want to know for the overall product. I want to know for each product. So if you see here, what I want to do is, I want to know the performance of each product for the respective months. So what I'll do is, I'll put the product, as you can see here. Here we have the product table, the product item. So I drag it and I put under the column section, which is above the values. So once I put it over here, so I drag the product and then I put it under the column section. So once I drag the product and put under the column section, you will notice that we do have the details, the performance of each product for the respective months. So for example, here we have men's apparel. So when you look at men's apparel, so here we have the performance. So what we can understand is, in the month of February, all the sales have dropped, most of them. Okay, most of them have dropped in February. But if we look specifically for the last quarter, for October and November, we see an increment. But for the month of December, we see a reduction. So basically, you can actually give the storytelling to your manager why there is a decrease. And of course, from here, your manager can understand the details has decreased for the month of December. But for October and November, it has increased. So of course, we can understand why and what's not. Okay, so this is how you can actually do for the details. And of course, if you want to change colors, you can, depends on you. You want to change the formatting, maybe you want to change to a different color. It's up to you. Okay, or maybe you want to change the different formats. I press here right click, and then I go to pivot table option, and then you can just put merge and center, and then you press OK. So now it looks in a better format. Okay, it depends on you how you want to present to your manager. And of course, maybe you want to freeze the pane, because if just say I scroll to the right, I am not able to see my January, February, right? So if just say I scroll to the right, I'm not able to see my January, February, March. So what you can do is, you can actually freeze the pane. So you can go to view, and then you can go to freeze pane, and then you click on freeze panes. So freeze pane means will freeze the selected cells. So right now, if just say I scroll to the right, so you can actually see what's the performance of each particular product. So this is the details. So basically what we learned from these particular cases, we can use pivot table to do some analysis, like determine what's the performance and so on. So of course, all the products is the same. But if just say you want to do by country, by the location, so you can just press here, right click, you can add a slicer. And then if just say I want to know about Alabama. So when you press right click and you add as a slicer, so we have a dedicated slicer for the state. So based on the state, so if just say I click on California, so here we have the details of California. Of course, we don't have the details. So if just say you have any error and so on, you can actually remove. But if just say you want to know about other states, just say like Alaska. So this is Alaska details. If they say a clear filter, so this is the entire details. Okay, so basically we can use pivot table to make some analysis on a given data. We can actually determine the performance of the product. We can know the trending and so on. So that is the beauty of pivot table. We can use pivot table to do some analysis. All right. So now let us go to the final part. Okay. So final part is level 10. So level 10, what we have is, we do have a similar data whereby we have a sports company. We have the date. We have the state, we have the area, we have the malls, we have products, we have price per unit, and we also have quantity sold. So of course, this is actually the information based on a Malaysian market. So this is all the malls located in Malaysia. This is all the states located in Malaysia. So basically, I want to know the performance of these particular details. So basically, what is my requirement? just say I want to know the performance of sports company. Okay, sports company. That means what are the total quantity sold for each sports company. And of course, the top 10 quantity sold in malls. So top 10 malls based on the quantity sold. So maybe I'll just put here top 10 malls based on quantity sold. Okay, based on quantity sold. And then maybe I just also want to know a slicer for product, a slicer or a timeline. I want to insert timeline which shows the respective timeline, like maybe by quarter, by months. So basically, I want to create a details over here. Okay, so number one is I want to know the performance of sports company. When I say performance is, I'm talking about the quantity sold, and also I also want to know basically the percentage allocation. Okay, the percentage allocation. And then the another pivot table is I want to know the top 10 malls based on quantity sold. Okay, so what I want to do in this case is I want to create a two pivot table. One pivot table for the sports company, another pivot table I want to create a top 10 malls. So first thing is I put my active cell on the table and then I press Ctrl A. Once I press Ctrl A, it will highlight the entire table. So when I press Ctrl A, it will highlight the entire table. And then after that, I'll go to insert. And then after that, I will click on pivot table. I go to insert and I click on pivot table. So once I click pivot table, you will notice that a box will appear. And then after that, I press OK. So once I press OK, so it will navigate it to a new sheet. Okay, so in this case, what I want to do is basically, like I told you, I want to know the sports company. So I tick the sports company and then I will tick the quantity sold. So right now we do have the details of the sports company and also the quantity sold. So, but I also don't want to know that. I don't want to only know the sports company and also the quantity sold. I also want to know the percentage allocation. So I will drag the quantity sold. I will drag it and put it at the values. So that right now we do have two quantities sold. So that right now we do have two quantities sold. And then after that, I'll just right click over here. I'll go to show value as, and then I will go to percentage of grand total. Percentage of grand total basically will determine the percentage allocation or apportionment. So I'll just click it over here. So right now we do have these details over here. Of course, these numbers is not presentable. So I'll just press right click on this number. I will go to number format. And then after that, I will just choose a accounting format and I press OK. Of course, it's not a symbol, no decimal, and I press OK. So right now, this looks better. It's presentable for my manager. But sometimes some managers, they have a special requirement because when I present like this, of course, it's very confusing. So what you can do is you can just right click. You can go to sort and then you can go to largest to smallest. So from here, we can understand that in Malaysia, the sports company that has higher dominance is Nike, which is about 26%. And then after that, if we talk about Nike, Adidas and Puma, it dominates the market more than 50%. So all these three companies, they are the big players in the Malaysian market, dominating about almost 75%. Okay, so this is how you can tell a story. And then after that, what you can do is you can actually Control A, copy. Control A means it will highlight the entire table. And then after that, you copy. Control C. So Control A will highlight the entire table. Control C means will copy. And then you will paste at the side by side. Paste it over here. So this pivot table, what I want is I want to actually know basically the percentage allocation for each sports company. However, for this pivot table, what I want to know is I want to know the top 10 shopping malls. So I will unselect the sports company and I will select the malls. So once I select the malls, here we have the entire malls. But I don't want to know the entire mall. I only want to know the top 10. So what I'll do is I will click on the auto filter. I will click on this box over here, auto filter box. I go to value filter. I will click on top 10. So I only want to know the top 10 and I press OK. So once I press OK, so now this is the top 10 data, the top 10 malls. But some managers are demanding. So what we can do is we press here, right click. Okay, I select here, right click. And then after that, I go to sort. I go largest to smallest. Okay, so largest to smallest. So based on here, what we can understand is Pavilion KL, the shopping mall Pavilion KL has dominated the products, products or sports products. Okay, and then based on this, what we can do is we can also create a slicer, meaning to say I can go to pivot table analyze, and then I can create a insert slicer. You can either go over here or you can just right click of any of the item over here. So if just say I just press right click and I add a slicer. So of course here we have the details. So you just say I press on men's apparel. So when I press over here, you will notice that only this pivot table will change, but this pivot table does not change. Meaning to say, when I just click on men's apparel, the pivot table on the right hand side will change. When I click on women's apparel, the pivot table on right hand side will change. So how to make sure the pivot table works? So basically what you can do is you press here right click. You can actually go to report connection. You right click on the slicer and you go to report connection, and then you just tick the box. You tick the box and then you press OK. So once you press OK, so it will change automatically. So when I click Apple men's apparel, so we notice that still Nike is dominated. When I click here, so of course, Nike has the higher dominance for all the products. Okay, so this is how you can actually play around. And then if just say you want to create a timeline, so you can put your cursor over here, pivot table analyze, and you can insert a timeline. Okay, you can insert a timeline, or you can just right click, just say I want to right click the date. So once I right click the date, I can add as a timeline. So when your data has a date, column, you can add as a timeline. So when I click a timeline over here, so timeline is similar like your slicer. You can just select around. So just say I select for the month of January. So when I scroll to the left and I select January, so we will have the January sales. But if you notice, it will not work for the two pivot table. It will only work for the one of them. Okay, so how to make this timeline operational for the entire pivot table? Well, what you can do is you press right click and then you go to report connection. Similar like what we do just now, we click on report connection and then we just stick it over here and then we press OK. So once we press OK, so now it will change automatically. So for the month of January, for men's athletic footwear, the sales is dominated by Adidas. So if just say I clear filter, so we can see that Adidas has dominated for the month of January. But if just say you don't want January, you can select this. You can choose quarter. So when you choose quarter, so if just say I choose on quarter 2. So for quarter 2, we notice that Nike has dominated and Pavilion has the higher dominance. And if just say I click on quarter 1, so this is how the details and so on. Okay, so my friends, do you understand? If you understand, can you type number 6 in the chat box? Okay, so I got issue. So how we can actually use pivot table to do some analysis. So just a recap. So what we do is the first part is we try to use a pivot table to know the top 5 population. So basically we can give a storytelling. So today's session is more to analysis and storytelling. So if just say I go to sheet 8. So basically from here, what we can tell a story is the sales is dominated by Indian market. The sales is dominated by iPhone and MacBook. So how we can use pivot table to perform the analysis, give a storytelling to our top management. Okay, so right now I will pass the floor to Crispo. But nevertheless, if you have any questions, you can ask in the chat box. Okay, if you have any questions, perhaps you can ask.
Thank you, Ellen. You can unmute yourself. You can write in the chat box. That was a great session. What I learned today, I've actually taken much notice on the different types of pivot tables, the compact, the tabular. I've never actually noticed that difference that you have explained today. That was very good of you. That was my take of the day. So, anyone with a question?
Yeah, basically because because normally when you work in a company, like basically if you're an engineer or you're a data analyst, I'll just share screen. Because Crispo was mentioning about this compact form, and I'll just go to the back to the topic. So basically this part is basically happens when it's not happens every time, because sometimes we can actually perform as on what requirement that we prefer. But sometimes if just say your colleague over here, he is on annual leave, study leave, medical leave, vacation leave. So when you work in a team, there is a possibility that you might perform his work. And then when you look at his reporting, you also confused on how he prepared his report, how he does this. So normally it's normal when you take over someone's work, or when someone is on just say they resign and then they join to a different company and you have to perform their work. So this case, you need to know what is the format. So there are many types of format in PivotTable actually. So, but nevertheless, my dear friends, if you have any questions, you can just ask. If you understand or if you want me to repeat, I can repeat for you.
I don't see any questions. So, what's the next steps? I can see we have not actually finished completely. So, do you have like future plans to continue? PivotTable is very interesting, and we can do it
Yeah,
for a
actually,
very long time.
PivotTable is actually a very, very big topic, Crispo and friends, because because it's not something that I can teach within 1 hour. Basically, it takes about 1 semester to teach the entire topics, because we have all app, we have there's so many things actually, and also not only PivotTable, because under the pivot Power Query, we can also use PivotTable. Because Power Query, depending on what version you use, you can actually load as a table format, you can load as a pivot table format. So there's a lot of things that PivotTable can be taught, and it requires not only 2 hours, sometimes about 1 semester and this. But maybe I can actually give our friends to actually practice this. They can actually produce in their LinkedIn. They can share in LinkedIn their portfolios on what projects they have built, how they use PivotTable to do the analysis, and it will be useful for their job recruitment process.
True. Okay. So, are you planning to have future sessions? If somebody wants to reach out to you for consultation, do you do consultation? How can somebody reach out to you? Do you have courses that you are selling or a book that people can buy
Oh,
from
no,
you?
I don't. I'm not an author, but basically, if they really want to reach me, they can actually reach me to LinkedIn. Let me just copy my LinkedIn. So I'll just copy my LinkedIn. This is my LinkedIn, and I will just paste it. Okay, so this is my LinkedIn. You can actually connect to me if you have any questions, queries.
Okay.
Of course, you can also ask Crispo. Crispo is an MVP. I'm not there yet, so I'm just a beginner in Excel also.
No,
So
you are not a beginner. You are in a very advanced class. I can assure you of that.
I'm still, that's a lot to learn. I actually want to buy your book, actually, Crispo, about your Power Query book, because it's quite interesting. All your cases, study challenge.
Yeah.
So I'm not into familiar in this M query, VBA. VBA is not my cup of tea. I don't teach VBA. Yeah, I don't really like VBA. I'm honest, but PivotTable, if they want to reach me, they can actually come to, connect me in LinkedIn.
Okay.